So before we start, if you could like, follow and subscribe, that would be extremely useful. And this particular video is about docstrings. So I saw something on Stack Overflow basically, or somewhere. Well, in fact, before even we got to Stack Overflow, at one point on, I think it was Python 3.11 VS Code, VS Code changed the docstrings for functions. So just generally, if we create a function in Python, it generically looks like this. And let's just go on here. Our docstring is this component and it's coloured in orange, and at one point in VS Code they changed it to green. And generally speaking, if we put a comment in on our code, so let me just do that as well. So tab here is a comment. Now the comments came in at green over here, so we've got green comments and our docstrings are orange, and I was quite happy that actually the docstrings turned into green. But there was a whole big uproar, like change it back, and I was like, why? Because a docstring, which is a string, is not really part of the actual code itself. So yeah, it's something kind of like for the documentation, effectively. That's sort of like what it's for. It's not something that we want to use. And everyone else was saying like, well, we're up in arms about this because actually a docstring is used. And it seems that the community is actually correct. And the reason why is this, and we can kind of like show this. We can actually make the docstring part of the function. So I'm just going to go again to start back from the beginning, and I think I've got a template here. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. Main template. There we go. So we've got our main module, and then I'll keep that there. We might have some imports in our structure. But what we want to do is we want to call another function here, so we can have we'll define a second function just like this from previously. So now we've got our main module which is called, and our main module is going to call our function. So let's call our function like this. So now we've called it. But one thing that we might want to do is test that the function actually has a docstring or something can make it be part of the interaction or part of the actual code. So we can actually do this, which is print, and this is just to start with, which is function and then dot double underscore, and then over here we've got this special method which prints the value to a string, the actual doc part of it, which is the docstring itself of the function. And the way that we know that we've got that is that if we run our piece of code now, it says here the function docstring, and notice that that's this piece over here. So now the docstring has actually become a bit more important, because we can do something like this. If docstring, and by the way, well actually I'll probably show this as well, but if we comment this out now and run that same piece of code a second time, we don't actually have the docstring. What comes back in is a none. So we could do something like this, which is if function dot double underscore doc, right, just to check that we do actually have a docstring, then over here we can print something like the length of the docstring. And here we can do len to get the length of our actual string. So we can do something like this. Hit F5 over there and run it. Now, we didn't get any return value, so let's put an else in. And the reason we didn't get any return value is because at the moment we've got our docstring commented out. So let's just put a return value else, and then print. Let's just put print none. We'll print a string at the moment. So we just to show that we get something there. So let's print none. So here we go. Now our docstring has actually affected the code running itself, because we could do some sort of check on functions. We could say that x equals function and like print x here now. And when we run this, we get none, and then we get none. And the reason why is we've still returned none at this point in time. So let's make this even more interactive. So instead of just printing out the length of the function over here, let's just do return the len of this docstring, all of this, the length of the function of the docstring. So let's print, and that will be the entire length of whatever this string is. Now, if we uncomment this, and also over here, we will return 0. Let's return 0 if we have no docstring. So now we don't need this second return anymore. We've got both cases covered. We've got all cases covered in our function. And if we run this now, we get the length of the docstring. I'll just put a colon here just so it runs nicely so we can see it a little bit clearer. But the length of the docstring is 25. That was meant to be a colon. The length of the docstring is 25 over here, and also we returned back 25. So this now has gone into our actual code and could be part of our code. In fact, it could be, we can actually return this now as, and in fact we see this, it returns back as an integer because we're giving an integer here, which is the len of something, the length of our docstring if it's not 0, and we're also returning back a 0. So we could or we could return back a 0 if the docstring was empty. So this actually now feeds into our code. So x has a value, so we could do something like print x plus y. Well, let's just set over here. Let's just set y equals 100, and then we can do an operation print x plus y. And that will give us some value as well. Here we go. We run our same piece of code, and now we've got the length of the docstring is 25. We're printing at the moment this little piece of line of code over here, so we're going to remove our print statements, but we see that it's 25, but we now get 125 in the actual code. So if we were to just go here and remove these parts and just run the same piece of code again, we've actually created a variable here which is 125. So with the print x plus y, x actually has a value, so the docstring now does actually have importance. And I presume, well, not just presume, but we can do more stuff than that. So kind of like, we might be describing arguments in here, so we might have something like args over here, and then inside the args we could have, like, if we did have an argument, say for here our function took in x as a boolean, we might have something like here, we might be talking about x and it's of type bool and a switch value to switch our string on or off. And over here we would then need to put in like a boolean, which is like a true or false, for example, because we're calling our function, and our function now required one argument, which was x. So if we run this, we get this much longer. We're going to get this much larger docstring because it's now 83 characters long. But actually, we could do some string testing, for example, because this function .doc is actually the entire docstring. We could do some string operations on it. So, for example, we could just say that if function .doc, we could say something like s equals, for our string is function dot double underscore doc again, and we could, and because that's actually going to be a string, that's what we're going to get back. And then we could do some kind of test operation, any of our string methods, so s dot and then count center strip, I don't know, whatever we wanted to do. We might want to find and see if we've got bool written in our string or something like that. So we can do a lot with the docstring, so they definitely deserve to not be in green like the other comments. So this is a comment. A docstring is very different. It does actually interact in Python code. So I hope this video is quite useful, helpful, describing docstrings. It's one of these, like what's called magic methods or double underscore methods, of dunder methods, double underscore doc, and a built-in method effectively is what it is. And that's really it. So if you did like this video, hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. If you didn't like this video, also hit the like button, follow and subscribe button, and forward it on to other people. It's quite interesting. And if you've got any comments, leave your comments in the comment section.